Call to order the May 10th, 2022 Transportation Committee meeting. Councilman Melanson is out today, and now we will ask Councilman Dempsey Lambert to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Please rise. Please bow. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, please give us the wisdom and strength to move our parish forward with the transportation needs that we need. I ask all these things in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Okay. Committee chairman's report. I don't have anything to add. Moving on to public comment. I see we have some people out there. If y'all would like to speak, please fill out a green or red card. They're located over there, and you can bring that up to us. You get 3 minutes to speak. General business. Number 5, acceptance of minutes of the February 8th and March 8th, 2022 meetings as written.
Motion. Motion
by Councilman Mason. Second by Councilman Lambert. Any discussion? None. Any objections? None. So moved. Item 5B, update on transportation impact fee. Jerome Fournier.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you. This is the annual update of the transportation impact fee program by ordinance. Every year we're required to look at the Institute of Traffic Engineers study, as well as the engineer's news record cost of construction index, and adjust the transportation impact fee accordingly. I have for you tonight a little bit of a presentation, because before I go into that, I wanted to show you the spreadsheet and where we're actually using the funds, right? At the bottom of the spreadsheet, I'll show you that in District 1, we've collected $119,000 since the beginning of the program, and District 1 is across the river. That's the West Bank. District 2 is $3,000,008. District 3 is $8.3 million, so a total of $12,323,501. That's as of this morning. Every time somebody pulls a building permit, they have to pay the fee, so we collect money practically daily on this thing. Allocated funds, we've allocated $1 million to the Area 2 and $8.1 million to Area 3, okay? We're looking for a project in the West Bank where we can use the money, but it's difficult to use just $119,000. As you know, projects are very expensive, and as you can see from the very top of this, these are where we're looking for funds. And I've worked with Jeff Burst. Thanks, Jeff, a lot for working with me on this. And so you can see where we did Roddy Road, between these intersections. There are a couple of projects along Roddy Road. In fact, all of the money in District 2 is spent along Roddy Road, looking at some of the projects there, right? Highway 73 turn lane at Brown, Highway 73 turn lanes at Oakland Drive, turn lanes at Henry Road, and Highway 61 and Germany Road intersection. That one's under construction right now, in fact. The whole project is basically using transportation impact fee funds, right? So that's where the money's being used. I wanted to, let's see if I can get this thing here. Yeah, go back to the staff report. This year, we had a large increase, as you can imagine, with the engineer's news record. So just to show you where we are with this, the index is 9.96% increase in the cost of construction index, which amounted to a substantial increase in the fee. So the current fee right now is for a single-family detached house that's less than 2,000 square feet is $2,816. That's the 100% of the fee. We're levying the fee per the ordinance that you guys adopted last year at 80% on the East Bank, and that equates to $2,253. Now it's going up with the 9.96% increase. We're at 2477 for the same house, right? So it's gone up a little over $200 per home, right, for a house that's under 2,000 square feet. Now, with the adoption of the ordinance that you did last year, that will go up to 90% on the East Bank effective January 1st of next year, right? So the base fee, the $3,096, will go up to 90% effective January 1st of next year, okay? So the base fee will stay the same, but we're going to levy it at 90%. I just want to make sure that we're aware of that, okay? So that's going to equate to almost a 20% increase in the fee, because of the engineer's news record plus the levying amount, right? So next year. So with that said, and I'll get back to the staff report, what we're asking is that you would recommend adoption of the cost of construction index increase. And I'd also ask that you would delay the requirement that we update the whole fee program till next year. The ordinance reads right now that we have to do an update to the transportation impact fee every 5 years. We did an update in 2017, so this year would be the date that we'd have to do that. I'm asking that we delay it until next year so that we can get the Unified Land Development Code ordinances in place, make sure that's all done. Then we go back and look at the fee, because it may affect how we calculate the fee based on zoning changes, some of the changes that we're going through with the Unified Land Development Code. All right. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. All right.
Councilman Mason.
Mr. Fournier, thank you very much. Do you think it would be worth us looking into lowering the West Bank fee below 35% to entice development over there? Or do you think that would do any good essentially if we did that? Or would that just be, just us kind of?
I would definitely recommend that. And I think when we go in and actually redo the fee structure itself, that we might look at eliminating the fee on the West Bank.
I was actually thinking that.
Yeah. I think that because we're not collecting hardly any money at all.
Exactly.
And there's not a whole lot to use $119,000 on, so I would make that recommendation. If we could divide the parish into the zones like we've done now, look at the calculation for the West Bank, and maybe just, eliminate the fee completely.
Or at least, maybe drop it down to like 5% or something really low,
Yeah.
because we can still try to collect a little bit of money, so that way
Yeah.
with that 119 can maybe be used
Right.
towards something at some point.
I don't think it's the fee that's not
exactly.
that's causing people not to develop on the West
Just trying to
Bank.
entice,
Yeah,
though,
I
as
know.
much as we
But
can.
any little bit helps.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, you're welcome. I have a question on that, because I was thinking about a couple things with the west side stuff. The only concern with eliminating the fees, how would that work if they build that giant mega park over there? That seems like that would be a tremendous influx into the traffic impact fee amount over there. And you could also use that, it basically like the other type of TIF to improve the roads leading to it. So I'd hate to cut ourselves off just from that.
Yeah.
If this, because I really don't think the 35% is causing people not to develop over there.
Yeah, I don't think it is either, but let's, I'd like to make one point. When we have these large industrial complexes and everything that's within the perimeter of the industrial complex is guided and permitted by the state of Louisiana, we don't collect fees internal to those.
Oh, no.
If they're building an office complex or an office building outside that perimeter that's state controlled, we would collect a fee at that point. But anything within the perimeter of the industrial site, they don't come to us for a building permit. And that's the trigger for paying the fee. All right, so if you see these large industrial plants, they're not paying the traffic impact fees because they're within the state regulated area.
Okay, I'd like to talk to Joel and Coach about that before we do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take any action on it. The other thing, if I remember correctly, the impact fee can be used for beautification projects along some of these roadways.
Not really.
Not really?
No. Remember, the impact fee is collected to assist in traffic and the reduction of traffic problems in the parish. Beautification might be a side measure to that, but the fee is structured to where it's used for, reducing traffic jams and, traffic construction and things of this sort. Yeah.
I want to look at it again, though, because I thought we had altered something on that, though, to allow for that sort of thing. For just this situation that we're not collecting a lot of money and there are opportunities. I thought we had done something on that a while
Yeah,
back.
I can get back to you on that, get
Yeah.
you the actual ordinance.
Because I thought that's something that could
Yeah.
help in
Yeah.
Donaldsonville, put that money to use, because what is it?
Yeah.
5 or 10 years, if you don't use it, it's gone.
Yeah. And yes, I think it's 6 years, or maybe 7.
Somewhere
But
around there.
In addition to that, we do not collect the fees inside the city limits,
Mhm.
right? So if there's a project within the city limits and they pull a building permit, they're not paying the fee.
Yeah.
And that also occurs in Sorrento and Gonzales, right? So if they're within the city limits, they're not paying the fee, right? So it is what it is. But we also eliminated the projects that within the city limits as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it, yeah.
Councilman Mason.
Not to jump the gun, but I know Joey's going to do a presentation on this later, but could we possibly use that money for like traffic calming measures to help reduce it that way? Would that be something that fall under the?
I'll have to look at
Okay.
at the actual ordinance, because
please do.
it's rather specific as to how it's to be used.
Okay.
And when the program was put together, it was to really cure some of the traffic ills we had in the parish, and especially as it relates to, congestion and things of that sort, right?
Thank you.
And you've been doing a good job with that. I mean, we saw these projects on there.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of good
Well,
projects that we're spending
Yeah, I want
money.
to thank Joey and Jeff on that, because they've really, I said, look, this is where the money can be used, and they're the ones who really, pinpointed the projects. Right? So,
They did a good job. One quick question on this also. Do we have any funds? I don't think it's been 6 years yet, but it's getting close. Do we monitor that to make sure we're not going to have to give any up? Or?
yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, exactly. So anything that's in the planning stage, we can use the funds for designing projects, engineering costs, things of this sort. So yes, we're well within the time
Okay,
limit
good.
on that. That's not a problem.
Excellent.
Although we may be getting close on the West Bank.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Oh, Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess you're wrong. In District 2 and 3, does it look like we'll see the amount of completion on some of these projects? I'm usually against doing anything going up with stuff, but if it's $200, I know diesel and oil, and I don't see that stuff coming down anytime soon.
I would agree.
So, you think we'll have about the same number of projects?
Yeah, we're working with the engineering side to let us know where we can utilize the funds.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And as we update the Move Ascension program and put more projects in there, we're going to look for the utilization of these funds on those projects as well. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, how we, I know we need two parts to this motion. One to move forward, and then one we need to hold back to January 1st of 2023 to hold up for the other development codes that you're working on.
Yes, what I'd recommend is that we enter into a contract with a consulting firm to update the program in the year 2023.
Okay.
Right.
So moved.
That was my motion, and
There you go.
That way she knows exactly what the motion is.
Yeah,
Great.
Jordan, we're going to rely on you to make sure we get that motion right that was made by
Sure.
council.
Yeah.
Council folk. So
we'll
give
we'll
Dempsey
take
the
it off.
motion, I'll give you the
Give me
second.
the second, I'll do
See,
it.
working on it. So if there are any questions on that motion, we're going to rely on Jerome to get the wording right, but we know what the intent is.
Yeah. And the other motion would be to adopt the increase in the fees based on the engineering use record.
Yes.
So
Okay, we've got a motion by Councilman Cazzo, a second by Councilman Mason. I didn't ask on the first one or this one. Any objections? None, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Okay, moving on to the next item, department report. Mr. Toro, good to see you. It's been a while.
Great. Thank you, all committee members. I know I have in your packet is DOTD's letting schedule for the next several months. It's quite extensive and it goes throughout the year. I think the ones that will make a big impact is those roundabouts on LA 30 at I-10 is due to be let in June. Jeff may have some more information on the next one, but he was very instrumental in getting funding for the overlay of 8 different roadways. That's it's called the Ascension Parish Overlay Program that's due to be let in July of this year. That's going to overlay a lot of roads just scattered throughout the parish. And it's going to have federal funding. Like I said, Jeff was very instrumental in getting that funding. There's quite a few other projects. I'm not going to go over any Move Ascension projects because Jeff will know more about when those will be actually coming up on whenever the progress is to where it can be let. On the DOTD projects that are ongoing, there's the LA 44 turn lane project, and I know that project construction-wise has been finished for quite a while, but it's another, showing of how materials have lagged behind so much. The material that is for the loops that detects cars going into the intersection and all that and making the intersections more efficient, that work is being done now, and that job has been finished for quite a while, but it's just an example of all the material lags that we've had on a lot of construction projects. LA 44 at 941, that roundabout is still under utility relocation. The LA 74, I know the people in the area well know that construction is on way. They have been making good progress. I think they're up to, they're past I-10. They worked from the west and they've crossed the I-10 overpass and they're making good progress, but it's a bit of a messy project, but it is progressing. The LA 70 project on both sides of the Sunshine Bridge is actually complete, other than some very minor striping and hydroseeding, things like that. Same with the turn lane on Airline at Cornerview. Moving over to some parish or the parish projects that's under contract. The Manchak Acres Road Bridge over Muddy Creek, all of those precast boxes are in place. They're forming up for the head walls on both sides. All the preliminary work for that has been done. We salvaged that old bridge for use somewhere else. But we had tremendous delays on those materials. The rebar that went into the box culverts. Another example of just materials are just really lagging and causing havoc with a lot of things. The KC Road bridge is a bridge that is really in need of repair. That is being advertised. We actually had to re-advertise it. There was a snafu in the plans for it, but the deadline for those bids is June 7th. So as soon as that's done, we hope to have a contractor on board and get that repaired and get that load restriction off of that bridge. Of course, the Henry Road at 930 roundabout has been finished. The street lights are working fully functional, 100% complete. Seabro is also 100% complete. Everything is done on that. Germany Road at Airline Highway, as Jerome had mentioned, that's under construction. They're making good progress on it. They've had some road closures necessary to put some cross drains in, but that is progressing nicely. It's going well. The contractor's making good progress. It's expected to be completed in mid-September. Of course, Joseph Area and Merritt Evans is finished, other than some utility movement. The Roddy Road Clearing and Grubbing project from Airline Highway to Bayou Narcisse Road, LA 935. That one is 100% complete. One question that does come up is about right-of-way markers. I know I've answered that question a couple of times. Whenever we do a clearing and grubbing contract first and we do a separate construction contract, we do not put right-of-way markers in during that clearing part, because right after the clearing is done, the utility guys come in and they, disturb ground, and they would tear up the markers. So we wait until the clearing is totally finished, and the construction contract, that separate contract, we put it on that contractor. Whenever everything else is done, the last thing they do is put in those right-of-way markers, and they're permanent markers. They're put in by a surveyor, and that's recorded in the courthouse. So that's just our normal routine on these type projects. One thing also, DOTD is putting in traffic signals at Roddy and Weber City. They actually have the arms there now. So it's going to be about a week and a half. Those lights will be activated, and we were able to stop DOTD from putting them in the current alignment. They actually, it delayed the process a little bit, but where they have them is going to be in the new, it's going to be, it's to where all we have to do is move the signal heads whenever we do the construction for Roddy Road, which we know is going to be probably another year, a year and a half or something like that. But we won't have, DOTD won't have to redo those light foundations. And just as importantly, the parish won't have to pay for that, because it was going to be in the construction plans. We can remove that from the construction plans because DOTD was doing that, and we made sure that they put it to where it's not going to have to be redone. I mentioned the Manshack Bridge. We did get bridge inspection results from our two contractors. That's how I was able to put that Casey Road Bridge contract together. I have not been able to create another project, but I intend to do that, to take those 9 other reports and come to you with another project to make piling repairs or whatever's needed to where we can get some load restrictions off some bridges, or just to make sure that we don't have problems in the future. So that is upcoming. Also in your packet is our pavement preservation list. The list that you have is, it's about 30-something roads that we put a product called BioRestore on it. These are roads that are in very good shape. Generally, they were overlaid this past year by a road rehab contract, so they're brand new roads, or relatively new roads, and this preservation is to keep it in as good a shape while it's in very good condition, to keep it that way as long as possible. So that has been going on. The next thing in your packet is a paving report, and I got to commend our paving section. Because we didn't have a meeting in a while, I included February and March, and I think April is in here also, yes. So those are roads that our paving guys overlaid, and what we typically give to our paving section is little short roads that are kind of a pain for the, or at least we would get a high price from private industry because they do the mobilization and doing little bitty small roads like that is not cost effective for them, so they generally give us a higher price. Our guys and our crew are very adept at being tedious with a small road, you know, and the low production, but you do get, they do a very good job of paving. The fella, Mike Beck, that runs that crew only has about 50 years experience under his belt, so he knows what he's doing, and we just leave him alone and let him, you know, give him as much support. At least that's my philosophy. I give him as much support as I can. He's very, very competent. Does a very good job.
Joey, I have a question. Not only about it's about that, it kind of ties into it. South St. Landry in front of Lamar Dixon, after the hurricane, got like really torn up. It's like really in bad shape. And I know a while back there was some talk with Entergy and some of the people that were there that they would help finance fixing it. First of all, we have to see if we can get that fixed at some point. But that is always going to be a road that's going to be liable to get torn up in a hurricane because we got huge vehicles right now. There are still huge vehicles on it. I'm sure there's a way that we can build a road that can withstand that. That because we know that road is always going to do it. Is that something we can look at when we repair that road, that we build it to a standard that can handle these massive trucks that will be coming on there with all that weight?
That's going to be part of Task Order 3. You know, we've given our contractor, they've completed Task Order 1 and Task Order 2. We're going to start, actually they did start Task Order 3 on one roadway, and I think I have that in the presentation part of Task Order 3, but it is going to include that part. We typically cut 14 inches of soil cement, so our base layer is 14 inches thick, which is stouter than what the state does. But we typically put 3 inches on the roadway of asphalt on that section, just that little section there, because like you say, it gets beaten up. Every disaster, which we get a disaster every other year.
Every year.
So we're going to put 5 inches on that. So it's going to be beefed up.
Okay, good.
And it's also going to be wider. For some reason, that section is a little bit narrower than the rest of South St. Landry. So it's going to be the same width, but it's going to be stouter than the rest of it because they must use Edenborn to get to there because it's just that little last piece from that last driveway of Lamar Dixon up to just past the last driveway to the soccer fields. That part there just gets tore up. So it's going to be stouter than any other
good.
road in the parish, really.
Good thinking.
One thing I do want to, because, you know, I get this report of all the pavement reports and signs and all that. I have not put numbers to it, but I'm just amazed as to how many stop signs and street signs. If you can look at the list for, you know, just the month of April, there's an entire page of road signs that we've installed or replaced and repaired. People like street signs. I don't know. They like to take them, and stop signs, you know, they like to beat them up, or I don't know. I just bring it up as something that caught my eye. I don't think we can do much about it. We certainly, with a stop sign, every time a stop sign gets knocked down, we're going to replace it immediately. But it's just a lot. It's a ton of them. You know, we put out a pretty good penny on replacing street signs and replacing stop signs.
Let Councilman Lambert, he had his.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, you know, not only with the solar stop signs, we've got a lot of the fire departments down, signs that are not up. I know I talked to you about the ones on Joseph Area Road. There's quite a few other ones that throughout the parish that are, I mean, just in general, I mean, even speed limit signs, school zone. I mean, are we taking care of that, or is the school board supposed to take care of that?
Generally, if it's a flashing sign like those flashing speed limit signs, that's a school board's sign.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, all of those school ahead signs, like the pentagons, the five-sided signs there. I think that's school board signs, but any report that y'all have of anything missing like that, and I know y'all have each done it, and I encourage that,
Yeah.
we want to know what roads, what signs are down, because we certainly can't catch them all. But we have a pretty good, it's set up to where we can order a sign pretty quick and get it up. We have a contract for what they call MUTCD signs, standard signs and all that. We all have a separate contract for the road signs. So we got a pretty decent turnaround on that. And that crew that puts signs up, they stay busy. They're constantly doing stuff. I mean, you can see how much they do in a month. It's quite a bit. I mean, they're just constantly doing it.
I had a couple other
I'm
things.
sorry.
if you
Yeah,
don't
go ahead,
mind.
no.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Manshack Acres and Bridges. H.H. Wilson Road, do we have a report on that, or how's that going?
Yeah, it's due to be let later this year. I think September is the date. So it is due to be let towards the end of this year. I'm actually working with Jeff to, we're going to make sure that we meet. I know Manchac Acres is part of the same contract as
Sure.
H.H. Wilson, but I know H.H. Wilson, there's two property owners there, and I am going to, we are both going to meet with those two property owners and try to make as much sense as we can out of it to where the thing is done quickly. And there's a lot of wetlands in that area, and I think I've discussed it with the property owner. They don't want to have it just cleared in order to provide a runaround, a temporary for while the bridge is out. I think it can be done split slabbed, and Jeff and I are going to work on that to where they'll only have one lane during a short period of time, but we won't be clearing a really nice wetland area because one of them owns the property. They do not want it clear cutted just for this temporary runaround thing. So we're going to talk with them and try to make it to where they're pleased with the process along with the outcome.
Appreciate that. And the last thing, the overlay project that you and Jeff are working on that will be led in July. How many roads will that?
I think it's 8.
It's 8. How quick are we gonna go to bid for that? It'll be a fairly quick turnover with the,
Yeah, no, I don't know of any reason for it to be delayed what's on DOTD's list, and I'm kind of, DOTD's list often gets moved around a bit, but as far as what they show, if I can find it, it says July, mid-July. It'll
Okay.
be let then, so usually you say 3 months after July is whenever it should get started.
okay. Thank you. And you'll have us a list of those roads?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Do you have any more, Councilman?
That's it.
Sure. Councilwoman Cazzo.
Joey, this is kind of a different subject, but I think it's applicable in the sign area. In Dutchtown, we don't have much of a community identity because we don't have any signage on the interstate that says Dutchtown. And I have inquired with DOTD about how to do that. That's a complicated process, and you have to have a sign that kind of hangs down by the side because you can't have more than 2.
It's got to be crash-worthy and
Yeah, there's all kind of,
that's
I'm not sure it's a pretty way that they would want to add Dutchtown to the 73 interchange, to the 173 pylon, but I'm not sure it would look great. So I'm thinking about that a little bit and going to talk to them some more. But what do I have to do to get signs that say Dutchtown on Highway 73? If you got off the interstate and within a fairly reasonable period of time there was a sign that said Dutchtown, or if you got on 74 coming into the parish and you got to a sign that said Dutchtown, we could kind of create an identity for that area that, because we all have Prairieville mailing addresses. But
I don't think that's a big deal, Councilwoman, because I've seen it in other places. I know you have. I've seen Burnside's sign.
Yeah.
So I've seen other signs. I think it's just, I'll see about just getting a permit through DOTD. We use the same posts they do, so, crashworthiness is very important to them. So we use the same posts they do. I guess the only thing is to define where Dutchtown is at. Where does it start? Where does it end?
Sure.
Where do you want that at? Because, I live in Sanamo and I don't know where the lines are at.
Sure. Yeah, well, we don't either. We'll have to do some research on that.
Right.
And one of my constituents is willing to kind of help us a little bit with that research. So I would love to, you and I get our heads together over the next few months.
As far as
especially
actually,
once they finish 74, it's pointless at this point with all the work that's going on there. But
Right.
Certainly on 73, we ought to be able to get something. And you and I can talk off the side about what that thing looks like that they want to add at the pylon for the 73 exit that says Prairieville and Geismar. They will not put Dutchtown on there as well. They have a rule. Can only have 2 localities. So they'd have to add this little hanging sign on the pole. I don't know. I don't think it would look that great, but maybe we can talk about that and you might be able to tell me
Sure.
about that, whether it really looks as bad as I think it's going to look.
Well, the ones I can think of, I know Burnside's got one. Duplessis, I think, has one also. So, they have them around. They're simple. It's just a green and white sign, and it's just block letters.
Right. Yeah,
So-
the ones for 73 and 74, et cetera, look great. I think those are fine. But it's the one on the I-10 that they want to add to that, that I said, when I ask about getting Dutchtown on that exit sign,
Yeah.
what they sent me wasn't real attractive. So, I think that makes getting them on 73 and 74 more important. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey, Joey, you mentioned something about the cost of signs, and I know we volunteered you for in the June meeting that we do the big finance report on transportation. That's a little thing like that I'd love to be able to show to the public, is how much we spend on signs.
Right.
Even extrapolate it out, just to let people really know how tight we are with the money. But hey, this is one of those costs that comes out of our transportation budget every year.
Right.
And really, some of it's very necessary, but some of these signs that are either stolen or destroyed intentionally aren't necessary, and maybe that'll be a wake-up call for people that, hey, you destroy fewer signs, we get more turn lanes.
Kind of in that same light, we're conscious of, because we talk about it a lot, how effective a flashing stop sign is, or an oversized sign is. But mostly Joey Broussard and I talk about it. The one that I call the Christmas tree, the one with the flashing on each side, there's certain ones like that are expensive, like $3,000, something like that. But what he's done in a couple of occasions is just put a single flashing sign on it, and it still pops, I guess. It still gets your attention. You don't need it at night. You don't need it during the day, you need it at night. And that flashing single light is still, effective of getting your attention. And that's way cheaper. So it is, if there's a place that we have a known safety issue, we may go with something a little more eye-catching and more expensive. But if it's just, one that we still want to get people's attention, we just have a slight concern, we may do something a little cheaper. And like I said, some of those, ones that are really nice, solar-powered and all that, those boogers seems to get taken left and right, and they're pricey. There's one on Joe Severio Road. As you go towards 42, we replaced it 3-4 times, we quit, you know, because it's just too,
It's down again.
yeah, it's too much, you know,
I
it's,
don't know if we can discuss maybe some type of tracking device, or
right.
we're gonna have to do something. Because
Maybe put up a camera somewhere that catches it.
That one, yeah, and you catch one person, you know,
Yeah, prosecute them and.
right.
Councilwoman Gaza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking that this might be something our public information officer could do some press releases about, perhaps even the video department do something for Channel 21, so that parents understand that when their children come home and hang a stop sign in their bedroom, that was expensive.
Right.
And they did pay for it, just through their taxes. And, you know, so perhaps we should just do some social media, public information, and a little videography, and see if we can't help to.
All of our
Reduce that
signs
some.
do get put out for a bid, so, you know, we do have, you know, the cheaper of the three, because we specify the standards of the signs. So we typically get 3 bidders, and we pick the cheaper of the 3, and that's the same for street signs and all the standard signs, the MUTCD signs. So we get bids on all that. So we, you know, we get as good a price as we can get.
Sure.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you for the presentation. Moving on to item 5D, as in dog, HNTB updates. Jeff Burst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. In your packet here is the briefing that's also shown on the monitors. Just want to give you a brief update of where we stand on Move Ascension, what we've accomplished recently, and what is up next, both in construction and pre-construction. So we'll talk a little bit about those things, then I will, I don't know what happened to the font there, but talk to you a little bit. We keep hearing about the US 61 Airline Highway Superstreet project, which we received $10 million in federal funding for the construction of. I'll talk a little bit about that, kind of go through some of the projects. Those have been broken up into 5 separate project segments. Talk to you a little bit about the Jobs Act funding. I know there's a lot of talk about, you know, when is that coming down? When are they going to make the rules? Things like that. A lot of that is still happening, but at least we can kind of talk about some numbers and some of the new programs that have been created. And then we'll just talk about ongoing and upcoming activities. So as you see here, there have been 14 completed projects thus far. A handful of them have been clearing and grubbing projects, a lot of turn lane projects, signal synchronization. We've completed our first roundabout project at Henry and 930. And there are several more upcoming and are ready to go once we relocate utilities. We have 2 projects underway right now in construction. Joey mentioned the Airline Highway in Germany intersection. That project, once complete, will look like the Duplessis side by the Walmart, where it will add before you had 1 lane going left through and right, and now you'll have distinctive lanes for each of those movements. Henry Road widening, we've begun the clearing and grubbing project on that, or that is about to be underway, so we can clear that corridor and then get that project in the queue to relocate utilities. Up next for construction, you'll see 2 more roundabouts for clearing and grubbing. I think Joey is securing those contracts currently in the works. You'll see several more roundabout projects that are ready to go. As soon as utilities get relocated, those projects are ready to go to construction. The number 4, the Roddy Church Point, the utilities should be wrapping up here in about a month being relocated, and DOTD plans to let that project in July. The 929 and Parker also, you'll see there, number 3. Utilities are going there next to start moving. They're out the way, design's complete, right-of-ways acquired, and DOTD is also going to let that project this summer, we believe in July as well. And then as we get through all these little roundabout projects, so you're going to see a lot of construction going on all over the parish, we're going to move to our first corridor stretch, is the 930 safety widening from 42 all the way down to Causey.
move Ascension pre-construction. You'll see the projects under design now, Duplessis, Germany, 3 roundabouts along Roddy and Joe Severio, as well as the 73 to Bluff Connector project. That is about 90% final design. So as soon as we acquire the right-of-way, there are very little utilities to move, if any, because I think they're deep enough at the tie-ins to where we can go to construction on that this year. And then you see the design projects up next. You'll see a roundabout at that very Bluff Road connector on Highway 73. Once that's in place, we'll convert Sebro into a right-in, right-out, remove that signal. Parker and Highway 44 roundabout, we're about to issue an advance notice to proceed to begin the survey, topographic survey, and the SU, the underground utility investigation. The Highway 30 to Buzzard Roost, Phase 1 only, is just to do enough design to establish taking lines so we can preserve that corridor. And in conjunction to that is a future north-south, east-west corridor connections that will tie into hopefully a new corner view I-10 interstate interchange. DOTD is advertising in this month to hire somebody to do the environmental analysis and the interchange justification report on that project. And then you see the other ones that we have, and I mentioned the Superstreet project, which are 5 separate individual project segments, standalone independent utility segments. And you'll notice the bug there that that is a cost share for all pre-construction activities with the City of Gonzales. We have entered into an IGA with them for that. Right-of-way is going along smoothly. We've acquired a lot of parcels, 273 thus far. 17 of the projects on the list have had all acquired right-of-way thus far. The off-system bridges were mentioned earlier, and we're actually on the beginning process of finalizing the right-of-way maps so we can begin acquiring the right-of-way on those 2 projects, and then we'll see if there's any utility conflicts, and then we turn it back over to DOTD for them to let the project to construction. And then we mentioned about utility relocations, and you see the projects right there, and that's the priority that we've given to the utility companies so that they can move succinctly from one roundabout intersection to another. And then all of those projects, as you see, are ready to go to construction as soon as those utilities are relocated. Okay, here is a depiction and a graphical representation of some of the Superstreet segments. Here depicts 2 of them. You'll notice the roundabout at Lowe's Avenue and Highway 44. There will be a dual lane roundabout at that location. And then a separate project segment does access management intersection control measures from both Lowe's Avenue along 61 all the way through the Highway 44 Burnside intersection.
Jeff, may I ask
Certainly.
you a question on that? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm letting Michael go first.
That little chunk right there, right before you get to 44 and Airline where that Smoothie King is right there, you have it kind of red crossed out right there. Are we getting rid of that road right there?
That the driveway by the Smoothie King, that
Yeah.
little tiny
Yeah.
hatched red X,
Yeah.
with the driveway comes out and they'll be able to get to off of Highway 44 only now.
Okay,
It's one way.
yeah,
And so the roadway itself, that little curved roadway,
Yeah.
will not tie back into 44, but it'll still remain to access the parking lots of both of those structures.
okay, okay. Because my biggest pet peeve in the world is when you come from Airline and you take a right on 44 and you go to that red light right there and somebody's trying to take a left right there.
Yes.
That is my pet. I've asked Joey about that 100 times. It just bothers me. So if that is no longer in existence,
That-
I will be a happy camper.
They're closing off that ability to make that left right there. And then once the roundabout goes in, the light at Bayou Narcisse and 44 comes out, is will be removed, and that will be a right in, right out turning movement as well.
Right.
Good. We call that the Michael Mason project. Keep them happy.
Please. I will be over the moon when that happens.
Okay, that's all. I had the question about, make sure we're going to remove that light at Bayou Narcisse.
Yes, yes.
Because that's a terrible light.
The next one down is Airline at Church Point. And you'll see also at Nell, they're doing some improvements there to get rid of that meeting opening. And then they're going to have turn lanes with the bulb outs, as you see, similar to what was done on Highway 42. really kind of controls some of those movements. And the access management, it truly does help the operational flow through the corridor. And then you can see what's being done at Church Point and Airline. The next one is at Airline, Weber City, and East Ascension Road. It's the similar thing to exactly what's being done over at Church Point and at Burnside, to where you'll have to come through the intersection and they channelize you to go and take the right, use the bulb out for the U-turn, and come back through the intersection. And then, of course, you can see what they're doing is the same thing about closing off to your left, closing off the median opening itself there, and adding turn lanes with channelized bulb outs to come back if you wanted to make that J-turn.
And Jeff,
Yes.
the brown on there, that's going to be new driveway, new street?
Yes, those are those, when you go through the U-turn,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go through the turn lane, and you try to make the turn, you're not going to be able to actually turn onto Airline without going off the road. And those are
Yeah.
those little bulb outs that you see on Highway
Well,
42.
I'm looking at the, that turn, when you make a left turn off of Airline onto Weber City Road, it's like a 1.5 car holding space, which always backs up an Airline. And it looks like if you're heading from the north and heading south on Airline to take a left turn on the Weber City Road, it looks like you're going to extend that. Is that my understanding of it?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's going to be some widened pavement.
Yes.
So that you can turn onto Weber City, and then it'll give you enough distance to where you merge into where it turns back into a two-lane roadway. And the reason for that is they're adding the dual right coming off onto Airline due to the traffic queue on that roadway.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Councilman Mason.
Go back real quick, Jeff. What's the point of blocking off the entrance to the Walmart and the Burger King right there all the way to the top right? Is that just to keep people from backing up onto Airline?
Well, I think what they're doing is they are eliminating the drive to go into the Burger King parking lot and cut across that little entrance access road into the Walmart by that auto center.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cut-through traffic there.
Yes.
And so I think, and this is the DOTD traffic group that had put this into the report, that we're just following their recommendation on closing off that access point.
I was just curious.
Kind of closing off the cut-through in between two businesses.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious.
And then, I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Lambert, Councilman Lambert.
Well, he was talking about that small turn at New River, so all the rails are coming out over the bridge to turn on to Weber City Road, to make that left. That's the reason why it's just that small indention now, because they have the guardrails up for New River.
The guardrail?
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that to see if they're removing all of it. I believe it would come out. Now, whether we have to install more, we'll have to take a look at that based on the radii and the clear zone and lateral offset requirements that the department has for structures close to the travel lane.
It's definitely, it's gonna help. I know there's been many a wreck right across from Canes and trying to get in and out of that situation. So you're just making a J turn before New River, and you're gonna take all the rails out on New River to make the left-hand turn onto Weber City Road.
That's correct. Well, that's where it's shown now. The rail may have to come back, but adjacent to that widened section.
Uh-huh.
And what they'll do is they'll look at that once we get into design based on the lateral offset requirements by DOTD and the AASHTO design standards.
Yes, definitely a help.
Certain. Okay, and then the last one is Airline at South Pepara Avenue. It starts south of the intersection, north of the intersection, I guess, and you see some improvements, again, closing off some median openings where they've had some crash history and adding these turn lanes with the bulb outs for better operational flow. And then the same thing where it's channelizing you through the intersection off to the right of your screen there. And those are the 5 separate distinct projects. And we're working with DOT right now for them to establish an H number and give us a PM. But we can begin engineering on that, don't have to wait for DOT because we're using local funds for the engineering so that we don't have to wait to get started for their elongated process necessarily. We can start on that now, but we do have to coordinate through them because it has to go through their process since we're using federal funds for the construction.
Councilman where is he? Mason, there it is.
So the 10 million that we got for this, we can't use that for engineering, we have to use local funds for engineering, and we can only use that for the construction, or?
We applied for it for construction, and the reason is that we can get a jump start on, because it's programmed for a couple fiscal years out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't want to wait on the engineering, where we can fund the engineering with the monies that we have in the program. And then the right-of-way and utility relocations are going to be very minimal because you're doing most of this, not all. We have the bulb outs, you're going to acquire right-of-way, but we're not talking about large tracks. So we'll be able to get through the right-of-way process fairly easy.
Yeah.
And then that way, we position ourselves to where either we're right in line with when we're programmed for the federal construction dollars, or we've positioned ourselves to take advantage of it earlier if other parishes or governmental entities aren't ready with their projects.
Like we usually do.
Yeah.
And we are splitting that cost with City of Gonzales, you said?
All the pre-construction
All the
costs, yes.
pre-construction. Okay. Thank you.
So it's not a fully coming out of Move Ascension. We have an IGA with the City of Gonzales, as mentioned, to where they're splitting the cost with us 50-50. And speaking of funding, I did want to mention, talking about the Jobs Act, you may have seen a graphic similar to this before, but you can see from the FAST Act to now the Jobs Act that's been enacted and passed into law, the tremendous increase over the next 5 years from $293 billion to almost $570 billion. We're talking a lot of money, and I'll get through some of the programs here and show you kind of how it can be distributed. But what does that mean for Louisiana exactly? Well, through the FAST Act, we were at about $3.7 billion over that same span of time. And so for the next 5 years, it will be at $6 billion approximately. And that's a 60% increase of funding coming to Louisiana. Again, every decision hasn't been fully made of how that's going to be divvied up, how much DOT is going to get, who's going to get exactly how much is going to be passed to them, to the MPOs, et cetera. But as those rules get defined, I'll be prepared to brief you on that. And then here you can just kind of see the dramatic increase. We're mostly worried, obviously, about the federal highways portion, because that's transportation of program and what we do, what the DOTD operates on it. But you can also see the tremendous increases in transit and rail, aviation. Office of Secretary, that is predominantly just discretionary funds, and then of which we can apply for certain grants through those programs. And they have developed a lot of new programs on not just increase in the formula funds, but new programs. It's over 25 new programs for competitive grant applications. I highlighted just a few here, and we were mostly worried about the top three, really, but even more importantly, the top one, the Bridge Investment Program, is new on a competitive. So, for example, the DOTD Off-System Bridge Program, for example, their formula funds tripled instantly and will for the next 5 years. In addition to that, the new Bridge Investment Program is going to dedicate $12.5 billion over that same span, of which Louisiana anticipates receiving under that new Bridge Investment Program about $250 million extra in competitive grant applications for bridges, of which 25% or $12.5 million has to be spent on off-system bridges. So now you're going from a $15 million program for the next 5 years. It's going to be a $45 million program, formula funds, with an additional $12.5 million potential in competitive grants. Yes, sir.
When we say competitive grants, and I'm going to beat a dead horse here, that's not free. And what I mean by that is, what do we have to do to put ourselves in a position to get this money that we're seeing?
The grant application is quite extensive. It's complex. It takes a while. It's not. We've gotten fortunate to get a lot of federal grant monies we talked about for the Superstreet project or whatever, going through the MPO's competitive process. Whereas this, you're competing for projects all across the country, like for a build grant, for example, or infra. And it's very, very competitive. But if we were to receive one, let's say for a bridge, as an example, here, that would be either at an 80-20 split, so that would be a match, or even 90-10, depending on the bridge, if it's on NHS system, et cetera. However, one caveat to that is the off-system bridge program is at 100%. We pay no match.
But many of these other projects, though, require us to have some sort of match.
All the ones we talked about previous to this slide, yes. We have to put up our 20% match for that 10 million in construction federal dollars.
Yeah. And just, going back to the point I always make, though, that if we don't have the money for that 20% match, we could potentially lose out on 80%, which is millions and millions and millions of dollars.
It very much is in our best interest to position ourselves to go after as many federal dollars as possible, particularly on the construction side, that you can get a lot of these road improvements, capital projects. We're not talking just overlays, we're talking about capital improvement projects for 20 cents on the dollar. And so that's what we want to do. As a matter of fact, talking about the bridge program, coincidentally, I have been in talks with the administration, and we're trying to work out a plan that, once worked out, see what finance thinks, and then come to y'all for recommendations, hopefully approval, to expand the off-system bridge program. Been in talks with DOTD and their program director, that we might be in a position, we're trying to still work out details, so I don't have any to give you this today, but where we might be able to triple, if not quadruple, for the next 5 years, the off-system bridge program here in Ascension Parish, of which that would easily knock out and replace every one that's designated in poor condition, and several that are designated in fair condition. So still working with DOTD, in talks with the administration. So I would like to maybe come back when we have a little bit more of that hashed out to brief you and to come with a proposal for y'all to consider.
That'd be great, because one thing I've learned is that people love the time period that the bridge is out. That's like, they just love that. But it's such a good thing when it's finally done, and we've improved drainage, and we've put up a safe bridge for them, and you no longer have to worry about flooding people or your school bus falling into the water.
Absolutely, yes, sir. And with that, just to wrap up the presentation, we have some upcoming activities. We've updated the website recently with some current information. We're going to continue to do that. I've noticed a few things that hadn't gotten updated, so I'm working with our sub to get that updated. It has a slightly new look to it. A lot more photos in the galleries of all the projects, some before and after, some with the drone animations. We're holding those project-specific utility meetings, as we discussed, with all the utility companies to get them moved, because we have a half dozen projects ready to go to construction right now, as soon as they can get the utilities out of the way. And that is the critical path, obviously. So we're continuously preparing construction proposals, because as soon as utilities come out the way, we want to advertise those projects, because as you know, it's a 30-day ad. Then it's, the evaluation, take bids, and then it, goes through the process of checking their bonds, and has to, once we want to award, go before council for approval. So there's a couple of month period there. So we don't want to lag. So I'm already starting to prepare the construction proposals on those to be ready, so that hopefully we can have, many more groundbreakers and ribbon cuttings coming up. And then you just see the list of ongoing activities that you've seen before. Myself and Joey are actually, and the administration are in talks with DOTD right now about a pretty good road transfer possibility to help us secure the right-of-way for the 3127 project on the West Bank. We're advancing, that is not part of Move Ascension, but just kind of trying to keep an eye on it so that we can advance that through the environmental assessment process that's in currently right now.
That'd be good. Councilwoman Cazzo, why don't you jump in?
Thank you so much. Jeff, going back to the Cornerview potential interchange there, we had our first discussions, I think, about that back during the Martinez administration. We talked with CRPC, MPO, DOTD, everybody about it. That, we're already probably 10 years into that discussion. I understand that typically it takes 10 years to get an interchange. So where are we on a timeline for an interchange at Cornerview?
The way it stands now, as I understand it, DOTD is preparing the advertisement and plans to advertise either in June or July to bring on a firm to do the interchange justification report that Federal Highways requires, as well as on the same contract, do the entire environmental assessment. Now, they're doing it at the same time at I-10 and 74. They're going to look at interchanges at both locations.
Right.
Now, the one at 74 is a little bit more straightforward, so the entire JREA process will take approximately a year, probably more in line with like 18 months for the one at Cornerview. It's a little bit more substantive of a project, because not just the interchange, but they're going to look at the connectivity on that north-south connector 230. Also, there will be a node somewhere in between where it'll be an east-west connector tying into 73 is the ultimate fully phased-out plan. So I would imagine that if they advertise next month and select somebody by July or August, they'll take them a couple months to get them under contract and weigh, and then approximately what I would estimate is about 18 months, you would have a FONSI that Federal Highways has signed off on. That's a finding of no significant impact. At that time, then, it can move into engineering design that the department would have to authorize.
Gotcha. Another long time.
Sort of along it.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Thank you.
at least there's some good information out of this, because if I'm not mistaken, we had one choice. I'm glad to hear that possibly at Highway 74, because here we are, that is the evacuation route for the plants, and we don't know where this new bridge is gonna come in. Could possibly line up with this, with all of this, I don't know, between Highway 74 and Highway 30. So, I'm glad to hear we talking now, Highway 74 and Cornerview Road.
Yes, sir. They're going to look at both locations. And from what I understand, and in talking to their planning division, they're not looking at it as an either or once they both receive an environmental assessment.
Right, yeah.
They may be looking, depending on, we talked about a lot of this money coming down, they may be looking at interchanges at both locations and funding both. So I don't know that to be true just yet, but that is the discussions we've had with them, that they're not going to say we're going to advance the environmental and then we're going to pick one.
Right.
They said we're going to pick one, but we may try to push for both depending on what comes out of the assessment and, and then once we understand what's coming out of the Jobs Act as far as money.
I never had that option, yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much. This is talked about, like I said, since the Martinez administration. We have been discussing it for years. So I'm glad to see that there's more action happening. But I think it's unrealistic to tell people, I hear people say, oh, it takes 10 years to get an interchange. Heck, we've been talking about these two for 10 years. It's going to be another 10. So I can't even, or maybe a little less, depending on how all that money comes down. But realistically, we still have a long way.
It will take a while, but again, with this unprecedented funding coming down, this is something that could happen sooner than, let's say, a 10-year timeline, depending on what comes out of the environmental assessment, and then if the department's going to get behind pushing the engineering and program it into their program.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Okay, moving on, item 5E, roads to be considered for acceptance into the parish maintenance system as follows. Gateway Industrial Park, second filing, Phase 1, Joey Turo. Terminal Court, 1,532 feet.
Motion to.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Cazzo, second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? None. Any objections? None. So moved. Item 5F, approval to add streetlights on LA 938 Coon Trap Road near Toby Street.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman
Wait.
Lambert, a second by
I think
Councilman.
he wants to talk.
Oh,
Yeah, this one may go away. John Cagnolati, councilman, and I have talked about it. it took me a long time to find out who paid the bill to Entergy to pay for the lights that are right next to this, in front of Diaz signs and all that. Finally found out the city of Gonzales actually has been paying the bill, even though it's outside of their city limits, and it's outside of what they call their lighting district. Bottom line is, they actually didn't know that they were paying the bill, but they are. So with that, there's going to be a discussion with the city of Gonzales to see if they want to fund, say, 2 more lights for that curve at Toby. And if not, then I will be coming back to this committee to see if we do want to pursue paying for that ourselves, because it is a dangerous curve there, and it's got a park there. So if the city doesn't do it, I will come back to you and ask for it.
Mr. Chair, let's face this, there's been 2 fatalities at this. I don't want you to hold up on it, Joe, if y'all don't mind. I'd like to give him permission to go ahead.
You're going to amend to give permission to pay for the
For the light at Toby
light.
and Coon Trap.
Right, it'd be a cost from Entergy.
Yeah.
They'll spell out how much that is, and I can bring that to full council if that's what needs to happen.
Yeah,
that's
I'd
good.
like to go ahead and do that.
We have an amended motion by Councilman Lambert, a second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? Any objections? None, so moved. Item 5G, discussion on the renaming of Highway 30 to Daigle, Highway 29 east-west bound to Causey Road, Highway 929 north-south bound to Bro Road, and the new roundabout at Henry Road and 930 to Panther Roundabout.
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Mason, a second by Councilwoman Cazzo. Any further discussion?
I like Panther Roundabout.
Any objections, as do I. No objections, so moved.
So we're gonna have some Griffin roundabouts,
Yes,
and we're
we
gonna
are.
have some Spartan roundabouts. That's gonna be good stuff.
It'll be, yeah, I was about to say, we'll look at if we could do some sort of, adopt a roundabout by the schools to beautify.
She's talking about that one?
Yeah. So that'll be really good if we can get something like that. Because I tell you what, that roundabout from the Prairieville Middle all lit up, I'd go that way sometimes just to go look at it, drive around it a couple times.
I'll take a picture in front of it.
I've done that too.
Oh, we need a ribbon cutting on that, Joey.
On the Panther Roundabout.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm
Can we
ready.
get a live panther?
I'm not coming.
Do they know what they name in the Prairieville mascot? What is it gonna be?
I thought it was the Hurricanes.
Good.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, the Hurricanes
Yeah,
will come bite them, they just come.
Yeah, Hurricane Roundabout. That'd be cool. That'll be at 44 and Parker.
Yeah.
PTSD.
Okay, we have a speaker on item, let's see, we're not quite, yeah, we are there now. 5H, renaming of Lawrence Bruley Road back to Rodrig Road. We have Danielle Rodrig, I believe you were here probably about 2 months ago. So you may come up and speak.
Just to remind, I know this did come up as a topic before. This road is a road that's off of River Road in the Modest area. In 2011, that's what's in your packet, it shows the committee with the documentation. You see that it was approved to change the name from Rodrig to Lawrence Bruley Road, and that was in 2011. And and all I am is a reporter on this. So what I found out was that the signatures that you see was the ones who petitioned it, and it was just brought to the Transportation Committee, and then had to go to council also for approval. So it was done. So I know Ms. Rodriguez, she and her family lived on this road, so she was not, well, I'll let her talk on her end, but I mean, she was not pleased whenever she found out that it was done, but she only found out a few months ago. So this is just to show you how it was done in 2011 to get changed, because it was Rodriguez before.
Okay. Ms. Rodriguez, if you'd like to go up and speak, I see your daughter probably finished her book that she was reading last time. That's good.
She actually finished it, so that's why she's not reading right now.
We'll have to get you another
I was just trying to figure out, like, what are you guys are gonna do to change it back? But also, I think somebody needs to come up there with me to see. It could be just a big misunderstanding, and that's what I'm, trying to figure out, because they do own property up there, but it's the street or the road before the Rodrig Road, and I think somebody just got confused. And now the guy that's living back there, the Bruley guy, he's actually on two people's property, according to the tax records, that's not his. So I don't know if they're letting him use it, which I doubt, because I talked to one of the owners. And his trail is like in the middle of two different properties. And I have a printout, if y'all want to look at it. I don't know if y'all want to see it. Somebody needs to look in deeper, to make sure he's not somewhere he shouldn't be. So, you want to look at it? I put some arrows on it and just to.
Ms. Rodrig, I want to be clear, though, you're for us changing the name back to Rodrig.
Right, but
Okay.
I think his understanding needs to be a little better, because now he's talking about putting a church up there. So I don't know, I don't even know the guy, really, because
I'll be
it's
honest,
kind of like
that's-
a dead area now. Everybody moved to Donaldsonville, but they're still paying their taxes. If you see this arrow right here that I've drawn, I don't know if y'all can see it.
Yes, I can see that.
This is the Bruley property, that 228000, according to the parish records. That's their property. But his trailer, and this is, you see this empty section right here? I don't know if you could see it good.
That's a
All that empty space, that's their land, and that's the street before ours.
See, that wouldn't really be a parish issue, that'd be a civil issue.
Oh,
So if somebody's it's really like more of a trespass on somebody else's property, I would advise going to see an attorney about that.
yeah, I just
That's,
think,
we as a parish council don't get into that type of property dispute.
yeah, I just think when they changed the street, he's just assuming that that's your section, and now they're not paving the road, and they're not fixing the sidewalk, because he's saying that's private property. And you see where his trailer is? I don't know if you can see that. And you
Yes.
see that line in the middle is on two of the residents' property. You see this right here and that side, and it's two different people's name, and one is living in Donaldsonville. So I don't know, I just think this whole thing is a big mix-up, and he actually put in a request to change the wrong street and moved his trail in the wrong section. So I don't know, somebody might need to investigate, but if, like I said, if you look at this map in that blank section where the arrow is, I'm not getting clear. Okay, yeah, you see, 228, that's actually their property, according to the tax records, so.
I'm gonna let Mr. Mason, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the trailer, like Councilman Lawler said, there's not much we can do about that. But I mean, I'll go ahead and make a motion to rename the road back to Rodrig Road. I mean,
And I'll second it.
yeah, I think we all agree that if everything is as you said, it is. then it
Yeah,
shouldn't be an
and
issue.
we never was notified, and, they only got 3 signatures, and when I called back in 2021, they said you needed 10 signatures of the people that own the property, so, and they're still living, and paying their taxes, but, nobody living up there, so.
So I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? Any objections? So we have a motion to change the name back to Rodrig Road.
Thank you, sir, praise
So
the Lord. Thank y'all.
You're welcome, thank you. Item number 5I, discussion of traffic speed controls. Mr. Toro, welcome back, Carter.
Appreciate it. I just wanted to bring this to your attention because this is an issue that I get asked about a lot. There's a lot of subdivision people, but there's also people on many roads that want some kind of traffic calming, speed humps, all of the things that you could think of, mostly to have the pavement slow people down. A lot of problems, a lot of discussion with me with that part. And what I'm trying to do is make it to where it's uniform and it's not much of a burden on the parish, or at least I guess this is my recommendation. I know there was talk about us doing that ourselves. My opinion is that if we do speed bumps, humps, whatever you want to call them, and there's different styles, and that's why I gave you those two handouts. There's all kind of different styles, but if we do that, I don't think it'll ever end. You know, nobody's going to say that everybody's driving the speed limit, everybody's doing fine.
We've been there and we've done it.
Right.
I wouldn't go back to it.
Now, the only thing that I want to bring to your attention is this, because, you know, there are people that still say that, you know, the noisy things and the, I can't think of the ones where you actually grind into the pavement and it makes a noise. That is absolutely the wrong thing to do, because no matter where you put it, somebody's going to say it's too noisy, and you got to take it out. The other thing that I've learned is there's speed humps. It's a different thing, and that's what I included. So what I gave you was two pictures. One that, you know, you can tell is going to make noise. You definitely don't want to do that. The other one is a hump. And whenever it's a hump like that, and we actually have in one of our Move Ascension projects of the future on Duplessis Road, we are planning on, and we have in the design, 3 or 4 speed humps. And I've had discussions with the fire district head of Prairieville, and he was, you know, reluctant to agree to it. But after we talked a while, and he actually helped me pick out an area that he thought would be a good place for it. So, you know, there is that fire station on Duplessis Road right at the railroad track, so he was very concerned. So, I mean, I purposely brought it up to him because he's right there. But he was still, after a while, he was okay with it. And the one that's was drawn together by the designer is one that's not that imposing. It's a 3-inch high hump. There's a 6-foot transition to the higher elevation of only 3 inches, and then it stays that way for 10 feet, and then you go down 6 feet to go back down. My son that lives in Maryland, he has one in his neighborhood, and it's even more gradual. It's higher of 5 inches, but there's like 20 feet transition to it. A 10-foot plateau, and then 20 feet back down. In this case, the fella that came to me and brought up, and I actually got those pictures from him, is a business owner. He's actually the safety guy for a business that's on Swamp Road. In this case, they are willing, because they have serious safety concerns, because they have their workers crossing the road often. So he's a safety guy, so he was, you know, asked by the owner to find a solution. I think he's got a decent solution that's not going to be noisy. He's willing to pay for all of it. He's asked to put up a slow traffic sign before, and he and I went back and forth. You know, I told him what the requirements were to make sure it was MUTCD compliant and all that stuff, crash worthy and all that, and he did it. You know, they're a business. It was important to them. They did it. I might be able to find a product that I think would be okay, you know, in that I would have to tell them, you have to put these signs in front of it. You have to have this criteria of a certain transition. It can't make noise. But I think that handout that I gave you would effectively slow down traffic, and you'll have signs saying that here's the speed bump, you better slow down. You know, it essentially identifies the speed bump. This is in an industrial area. I know Swamp Road, when you go further away from Perkins Road, it's residential. Do not want to touch anything in a residential area, at least for now. This part is, this is Garcia Roofing,
Garcia Roofing.
but there's other places next to it. There's businesses on either side. There is a resident in the area, but this product, I do not think will make noise. So he's going to ask me for a permit for it. What I want to bring up to this committee is that if it seems like it's going to work okay, not make noise, and we can tell them also if it does end up making noise, and people are objectional to it, he may have to just pull it back up and get rid of it. But, you know, I think there's ways of doing this in a commercial setting that might work.
Councilwoman Cazzo.
Yeah, so I think Dempsey and I are going to be on the same page on this. We had these things that screwed down to the asphalt, and in no time, they're broken. And it becomes more dangerous than it helps. Or we're constantly going out there and having to repair them. That's why we had problems on Tiggy DePlessis, because they'd screw those things down, and then, you know, people hit them so hard that it breaks the bolts off, and then they're loose out there, or they're half loose, and it was a disaster. We ultimately had to pull them up because of the damage it was doing to cars, and the, you know, the number of times that our team was having to go back out there and try to get those things to screw down. And, you know, if you jerk it out of the same hole every time, you can't put it back because it just doesn't work. So I'm very concerned about going back to anything that just creates all these maintenance nightmares and damages people's cars. And you know, I don't know what else we could do unless it's building into the pavement, where it's a hump that is in the pavement so that it's not screwed down to the asphalt.
And that's great input. You know, I think John Duvall's come to my office several times, and I appreciate the input. You know, it's good input to know, you know, they're willing to put up the money to do whatever. The humps that are on DePlessis Road are the pavement. You know, it's not a screw down thing. It's going to be in the specs. The asphalt is going to rise up and plateau and go down. We'll have signs before it, warning travelers both directions. Now, I can do the same with Mr. Duvall on at Garcia Roofing and say you can only do it if it's part of the pavement, and that's fine. You know,
Yeah, I'd be happy with that, but it was a nightmare on Tiggy DePlessis.
I know one of the things that I've seen that works, and we went through a lot of this when we're doing the traffic safety, the traffic calming stuff, was kind of like the tables, kind of like you said. And if we did a higher rise and even a steeper incline, that is going to slow people down. But what you do, kind of like they have at the Mall of Louisiana, that's also your crosswalk. So you not only do you have the rise there, you have to slow down, but you have signs on each side of it advising people of crosswalk, which I think that may work. I'm a little concerned about having a third party come in and do something on our roads. I don't know what kind of precedent that would set. I think it's something that we should be doing. I'm not worried about the sound there because it's all commercial right there. I don't think that's a problem, but if we looked at something kind of like Councilwoman Cazzo and Councilman Lambert were saying that isn't screwed in, because we've got all kind of problems with that, but we could look at either doing a table that combines painting the road, because I've seen it done where the inclines are painted yellow. So you see it from a distance, that reflects, it slows people down, and make that the crosswalk also. I think that'd be a safer alternative than these kind of screwed in bumps. They don't work over time.
And that's great input on that part. You know, I think whatever method and striping is put, it needs to be standard. I don't think it's wise for us to create something new. It needs to be according to an MUTCD standard. One thing also is that we are not capable of doing that ourselves. I've asked our paving guy, he's very talented, but he said he can't do this thing. It's going to have to be subbed out. So that's why I would like to just have it as a permit to where we would inspect it whenever it was done, but like I said, we're not capable of doing it internally. So it would have to be a third party to do it.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, I don't wanna look a gift horse in the mouth and, turn down free money for road improvements. But I mean, if we're gonna sub it out, and as long as you guys are as long as our department is kind of watching over this and making sure that this is going the way it should go, and then it's gonna be specs that we agree to and that we kind of set, I'm okay with a third party paying for it. I mean, like Aaron says, pretty much every week, we have no money in transportation. So I think if somebody wants to pay for it, I'm all about it. Let them pay for it, and we can just make sure that it's subbed out by a good company that we trust and we vetted, and it's done to specs that we like. So I would agree with that.
And this guy in particular, he's, I know you mentioned the pedestrians going across. I don't want to encourage pedestrians. I know they're going to cross, and this speed table would be a good place for them to cross, but I don't think it would be wise for us to stripe it as a crossing place. That I'd have to check with our attorneys maybe to see if that.
Maybe I misunderstood. I thought that was the concern with people crossing the road. Maybe I misunderstood.
You're right. No, Councilman, you're right in that is their concern is that they have two. It's not just the vehicular traffic, because they have trailers that lumber. They're clumsy, getting on and off, and they said recently there's a lot of big trucks that are passing through there and flying through there. But they do have pedestrians too, because they own offices on both sides. The only thing is I'd be leery. I'd have to be very cautious on the parish's behalf to stripe something as a crosswalk. I don't think that would be wise for us to do. I'll just have to check into that.
Let me just one thing.
Councilman Lambert.
Joe, did the structure at Blue Bayou in Highland, I know both sides are now married up. He owns both sides of Swamp Road, correct? Garcia? They own both sides
Yes.
of Swamp Road.
Yes.
I would maybe try to let it coach him going the other way, see if he would want to put a walkway just like they did at
Right.
Blue Bayou. Because I'm gonna tell you, how long we've been dealing with trying to widen Swamp Road, and I
Right.
mean that's not gonna happen. So, and these type of humps, I go back to Highway 30, that motorcyclist that was killed, they've taken all that up. I think we need to stay away from that, and we need to start thinking a little bit different now. And if he wants to people crossing, let him see if he could do a bridge type or something, because we're not going to be able to widen the road. That's not going to happen.
Right. And we did talk about that part too. The only part that I think you would want to widen is just that short commercial part, but that's a lot of money. That's a big thing. That's talking property acquisitions, utility relocations for a little short piece.
Something like this, all we're going to do is create something going on to the oncoming traffic, and a motorcycle or something like that is not going to be good.
I think we're good. Item number 6. Oh, do you have another question? I'm sorry, Councilman Mason.
I want to make sure. So item G is a discussion of renaming, and we made a motion. Can we do that?
No, we can't. I didn't realize it was,
So do we want to add an agenda item real quick to just
make it an approval.
make an approval, so that we don't
Yes,
have
we
to come
don't
back
have
and
to
do
come back
this
to it.
next time?
So what we need is a unanimous vote to add item 5, great catch, Councilman Mason. 5J, which will be approval of the renaming of Highway 30 to Daigle, Highway 929 west eastbound to Causey Road, Highway 929 north-south bound to Bro Road, and the new roundabout at Henry Road at 930 to Panther Roundabout.
Vote real quick.
And I will close the voting. It's unanimous. Moving on to item 5J, approval of what I just said.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mason,
Second.
second by Councilman Lambert. Any further discussion? Any further objections? None. So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second by Councilwoman Cazzo.
Yeah.
So moved.